Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Hi, Jen. Good to see you. I'm also, Carrie, going to put the, we'll need to put our website chat in if people are here and they're wanting to get credit for units. We have the units link if you want to add that.
Pam, is that at the end of the slideshow? Or just our EdTech website?
It's on our EdTech website because they'll need to sign in
Okay.
kind of
Thank
during
you.
this window of the class, basically.
Perfect. Thank you.
So if you just came in, Carrie just put a link in, slides for participating today. I'm going to give it about a couple more minutes. It's 4:01 right now. Usually people get that last email that we send out and start coming in. So I'll give them about 2 more minutes or so to come in, and then I'll just get started. So in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's everyone doing today? I'm going to put in my 8+. 8.6. All right, Kevin. 10, Teresa. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear somebody's having a 10-day. 8. That's kind of where I am. It's the end of the day. I'm tired. I'm probably a little cranky hungry at this point. In the chat too, tell us what.
Pam, I think your audio just cut out. Pam, I think your audio just cut out.
All right, can you put your thumbs up if you can still hear me? I actually had to take my headphone off.
Now we can, Pam.
My phone was picking up phone calls, which was not so cool. All right, so I am going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you for your patience. What I think you might have heard me saying, I was saying in the chat, just go ahead and put in for me here, what brought you to our session today? Was there a particular thing you're interested? Are you part of the crew that is wanting to earn credits through USD? Let's see. And while you're working on that, Carrie put a link to the app in there, to nearpod.com. And if you haven't opened that up yet, that would give you access to kind of engaging in some polls and things that we have today. And Carrie, you are able to hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. Everybody's able to hear me? It's so weird. Okay, classes are interesting, informative. Thank you, Teresa. Okay. Well, you're an SDCOE groupie. Awesome. Well, today's really just about telling your story and leading the message. This is a class that we have taught previously in what was a session mostly for administrators and people like that. It's changed a lot because some of the social media and some of the things that we've done with it have changed. But we're going to be bringing it in as part of a series. Before I start talking about that series, though, if you're following along with us in Nearpod, Carrie's going to start the activity. You'll see it's counting down. And the open-ended question is just who's in the room? So if you don't mind giving us an answer, I can see some of you have your role listed in your name, but what's your role at your school? What schools are you located at? Any information that you care to share with us? And Carrie, if you need to put that link maybe for Nearpod in there again. And if you're not following along on Nearpod, feel free to just stick it in the chat if that's easier for you. There we go. Cool. National School District Resource Specialist. Perfect. Kindergarten teacher. Yay. My mom owns a preschool up in Escondido. So they have one kindergarten class there. Training facilitator. You're at Sage Oak Charter School. Okay. Cool. National School District and no answer. There we go. EdTech and Innovative Learning Coordinator. Well, welcome, Kevin. So we've got some EdTech folks in here and some people from different schools. So cool. If you're interested, and Carrie, we can go to the next slide. Today's really the starting point for our Share Your Story series. This one's Lead the Message. In this session, we're focusing on foundations. So we want you to kind of understand your role in storytelling and be able to connect your voice to your organization's mission and vision and develop a certain level of synergy there. So we're talking about how to kind of amplify the organizational message while also telling your own story. So from here, which is this first kind of arrow that you're seeing, Lead the Message, the series is building step by step. So in November, we're going to look at marketing and how you can kind of tell a story or really push out those story elements and have repeating texts that you do throughout the year to kind of build on some of the things that we talk about in today's. We'll try and make sure we spiral on some of these ideas in case you miss one in between. But January, we're going to look at using data as part of your story. So we'll talk about some dashboards and things like that and how you might be able to use AI to look at them and pull out that information that you might want people to know about your school or your district. We'll also, then in February, we'll move into kind of more visual storytelling, how to use Adobe Express or Canva and build around your district's brand using elements that you know that they would want you to be using. And then also just making videos and things like that, how to make things a little more visual when you are communicating that message. We'll also look at, let's see, in March, I think that's in March, yep. We'll be focusing on kind of building trust. What does that look like through parent meetings, making sure that people understand what you're doing. I had some feedback somewhere. So let me double check something. There we go. Okay, and then April, we'll be looking at kind of taking student voice into the equation, building out advisory groups for trust and inclusion. So how do you kind of organize that? And then how do you market your story through gathering information and through sharing other people's story as well? All right, so Carrie can go on to that next slide. We are just wanting to let you know that there is a chance to earn graduate level extension credits through the University of San Diego just by taking part in these EdTech professional learning sessions. So the way that it works is pretty straightforward. You can kind of see the little pathway down there, but you'll register for sessions, and that is through us. You'll just register, make sure that you're in person live viewing them. And we have a sign in. So I'm going to make sure that that link is posted in the chat. You need to be in person, so signing in during that time frame, and we'll be kind of checking on who's here and that within that time frame as well. Once you've done the right number, after each session, you'll do a short reflection. That's part of the units end of it. And then once you've done the right number of sessions and reflections, you can apply through USD and get your official credit. You can sign up anytime. We have 2 sign-up periods. The first one would be spring semester. The next one is the following fall semester. And during that time, if you've been attending, so let's say you attended a few in spring semester, and then by fall semester, you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to attend a lot more, and you want to combine all those, that's fine. We can work with you on that. It's all through USD though. So Carrie's got, if you can put our link to that on our webpage, we have a sign, we've linked it out through our webpage. Carrie's kind of going down and showing you. It's a little bit further down, Carrie, where the drop down menus are. So under Earn Professional Learning Credits, you can see it gives you all the information you need. And as you get down toward the bottom a little bit more, there's the course webpage, and that's where you would go to sign up through USD's extension. The payment is all through them. We don't really have anything to do with that. The only other thing we highly recommend is that you check with your district whether or not these units qualify for their idea of what salary advancement units should look like. They are graduate level units. We know that a lot of districts do accept them, but we cannot guarantee that your district will accept them. All right. With all that said, you're welcome to contact us if you have further questions. Just send us an email. You can get our emails from our website as well.
And
So if we can go, yeah.
Pam, before you continue, do you have a link to the sign up sheet for now, or should I put and put it in?
Yes, if you go to the website,
Yes.
I can get it, but it is in I think it's near the bottom of that website. Maybe in the Earn Professional Learning Credits. There's the online form right there. So if you don't mind putting that link in there. If anyone happens to be taking this for credit, or you think you might in the future, you're welcome to just use that link for today's session. We just want to see that timestamp that you were here. Okay. All right, so we can go on to objectives for today's session. With the few people that are in here, I've never had anybody complain if our sessions end early, but we might get through the content a little quicker, but we'll see. So today's objectives really are looking at understanding how individual educators can actively shape and share stories that highlight positive impact of your work. We're looking at learning how to use your school or district's mission and vision statements as anchors, making sure that you're kind of creating consistent, cohesive messaging. And then we'll also start having you take a moment, take some time to outline some of the key themes, values, or initiatives that you want to highlight this year to help guide some posts or classroom updates or professional messaging that you're doing on a daily basis within your work. So this might be what you share at an open house with parents and how you share it. This could be in newsletters. This could be through social media posts. But how do you kind of anchor what you're sharing around the district's mission values, kind of their key language? So we can go on to the next thing. So basically, there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind here. As an organization, SDCOE, we have our own communications department. So I always recommend before you begin doing anything around kind of communications or posting on social media, always, especially if you're I know we have a lot of principals who've worked with us in the past, and they've said, hey, I'd like to start getting information out on social media about my school. We will direct you always first to your communications department if you have one. If you don't, then these are good things to follow as well in terms of your own branding. But it's always key to kind of start there. So understanding kind of these two lenses of storytelling and how they can work together to communicate that message, to kind of create a cohesive message going out to the public is super important. So just kind of looking through these bullets here, you're going to see that your communications role is really to set the organizational's the narrative that they have, right? So they're going to ensure that the messaging reflects the mission, vision, strategic priorities. They help your overall district strategic plan on that, right? They help to build and make sure that the senior leadership team and everyone is on board with what those priorities are. Their responsibility is also to kind of maintain this consistency across all of their official channels, newsletters, press releases, websites, district social media. And these are all the organizational outlets of it, right? So they coordinate themes, they coordinate the timing, they're looking at managing communication during sensitive times, right? So if there's anything going on at schools that, or out in the media, out in the world that has happened that something where it could be considered sensitive, or, there's been a school shooting, there's been something that happens like that. Those are times when you're really going to want to lean on what that internal organizational communications department is saying and echo that same language, right? On the other hand, you have kind of this personal role in your own personal social media accounts. So a lot of times teachers, educators will set up a personal account that allows, it might be, we used to have Twitter accounts. You may still have one. I know Blue Sky is one that's out there. A lot of people are using LinkedIn now to kind of get information out and share information with the world. Facebook is another one. Instagram. People will have accounts that they use personally, and then they have accounts that their personal accounts that they use in a more organizational way, right? So I personally use my LinkedIn account more as my work account. I will share things that I'm doing in schools. I might share things that I'm learning about. I might share conferences that I've gone to. I used to have my Twitter account, and that was another one where I kind of kept that work-based. It was my personal account. I was not speaking on behalf of SDCOE when I posted to it. I was speaking about from my own personal view, but I kept that for work. My private accounts would be more like my Facebook account. My Instagram is a little bit of a blend of both, but it tends to be a little more personal. And that's where I might share what my family's doing. My Facebook account is kind of a private account. You'd have to ask me to join, that kind of thing, because I want to keep, as an educator, that separate from my private life, understanding that at any time that information could be public. So I'm always thinking about what I'm posting to it. But again, there's the one that I'm driving to kind of drive my own messaging as an individual who is an educator. And then there's the personal ones, right? So educators and staff, you're usually wanting to provide those authentic everyday examples that make the vision and mission of your district visible in practice, right? So you're going to share classroom moments, potentially, student projects, personal reflections. You might look at how individuals give the community like a ground level view of learning. Like, what are we actually doing in classrooms? Our district says that we're focusing on belonging. How am I actually doing that in my classroom? So they're not made on behalf of the organization again. So I'm not saying, hey, at SDCOE, we believe this. I'm saying in my classroom, I'm doing this today with my students. I'm being careful not to put in any images of my students that I don't have permission to use, that I don't have agreements, the signed forms for. I'm being careful not to put in private information about my students, but I can kind of share, hey, we are making these cool projects today, right? I can put in blurred out images or the backs of my students' heads that are maintaining their privacy, but can kind of show the examples of what we're doing that align with that mission and vision and values, right? Of the organizational. I can use organizational hashtags that might extend the reach and reinforce the cohesion of what we're doing in the district. So that organizational storytelling sets the framework, and then the individual storytelling can bring it a little bit to life. All right, go ahead, Carrie. So for this, really, the question then, and as a group kind of sharing your thoughts around this question, we want to make sure the narrative's clear. What is the impact of your social media or your messaging on your community? And basically, can they tell who you are? So social media is one of the most effective ways of getting that message out. But what message are you sending out there? Is it aligned with your district? Those kinds of ideas. So I want to give you a minute, and I'm just going to put a minute on my cell phone here and take a moment. If you have a LinkedIn account, if you have a Facebook account, if you have any other social media accounts, to just look at what is being posted on your account. If you don't have your own personal accounts, go and just go to your district's website. Usually at the bottom of the website or somewhere on that front page, they have listed out all of their social media icons. Take a minute to just click on some of those and peruse the kind of messaging that they are sending out. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. And I'm going to just kind of turn off my camera for a moment. About 30 seconds. Okay, so hopefully you've had a minute just to kind of look at the types of things that your organization has been posting online. Carrie, if you can do me a favor. I see
Of
you've got like,
course.
you have something on OneDrive and Innovation Zip showing up on your screen. If you don't mind opening up a new tab, and let's just go to SDCOE's main website for a second. And if you look at the bottom of our website, I think there's the different types of social media things that we have. And you can even see some of the posts here. So when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing activities that are happening. You can load more if you want, Carrie. We're seeing pictures of people. We're seeing pictures of when information people might want to know, board meetings are, something about passion, what students, high school students with passion are doing. You're seeing a lot of happy faces. You're seeing a pretty positive message going out. And those are the kinds of things really, it helps to look at your organization and say, well, what are they posting on and how can I, piggyback on that to some degree with my own postings that I do. So Carrie, if you don't mind going to the next slide in the Nearpod. And it's funny because I have these on animation usually in my presentations, but you're getting it all in one big post here, but that's okay. So a lot of, we've already talked that many districts have a communications director or a public relations team, right? Who strategize and manage those official accounts. We have a communications department. They partner with divisions. They partner with different departments. And they really look at how best to strengthen the organization's presence and ensure consistent messaging. But at the same time, in social media today, in this world where everybody kind of looks at this, you've seen kind of negative things sometimes posted about schools. You've seen other people really driving that message sometimes. So the idea here is that we can be in control. If you want your positive message out there, you're really that director of public relations, right? And if you think about it I was a classroom teacher. So from any level of the organization, everyone is a public relations director, right? You're promoting a vision of academic success. That might be going on in your classroom, that might be going on at your school level, that might be going on at the district level. You're reflecting that positive school environment, right? You're wanting people to see the great things that you're doing. You cultivate and amplify the successes of others. We saw those postings in SDCOE. And then you celebrate rigorous instruction and learning. Hey, look at this robotics team that we have and what they have been doing. So these are the kinds of things that we're doing as that director of our own public relations, right? All right, so in this next section, we've already gone to kind of like SDCOE's website, but I'm going to go there again in just a second, Carrie, so you don't have to move on yet. What I'd like you to do is go and visit your organization's main About page and see if you can find your mission, your vision. It might be your portrait of a graduate, things like that. And start looking, what are those priorities? In our case, we have priorities and commitments, but what are the goals that your board has? And just peruse those. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do this, and then I'll talk about how you can use these to help you start creating some of these messages. About 2 minutes, I'm going to set my timer. And in the chat, while you're looking, feel free to just kind of post things that you're thinking about or questions you might have. like about 40 seconds to go. Okay. That's our 2 minutes. I hope you had some time there. For SDCOE, and you can kind of see lined up here, we have our commitments. There's the County Board of Education goals. Those are things that we can look. If you want to click down on the commitments one real quick, our drop down, you're going to see these echoed in just a second here. The County Board of Education goals, you can click down on that one. A lot of districts do have this information. Schools usually have this information. And it's good just to kind of anchor what you're thinking about in here. So let's go back to the Nearpod lesson. And we'll go to the next page. So at this point, as you're looking at your district's mission, values, portrait of a graduate, pay attention to the language. So what words keep showing up? Those are your signal words, right? These are the ideas that your organization is trying to reinforce. So as I'm looking at ours, and it's a little hard to read on here, but I looked at our commitments. I'm seeing respectful of differences and diverse perspectives. I might pick up on that kind of idea of diversity. I'm accountable for their actions and impact on students. Well, I'm wanting to talk about our impact. What are we doing? Proactive and improving ways we support and engage our students. So again, I might show examples of how we engage our students. Responsible stewards of our resources. That might give me an idea of what to talk about and also what not to talk about, right? I don't want to show that I'm off at a conference somewhere during a school day when I know that teachers don't have the ability always to do that as well. I don't want to show myself, oh, look at me, I'm out to lunch today or something like that. And then lifelong learners who contribute to our collective successes. So again, there, I might show how are we learning new things? What are we doing with students? What are some new ahas for us? Down below, you can also see our County Board of Education goals. Some of the things I'm picking up there, connecting the educational experience to the world of work. So anything that I'm doing that can align with that, I'm going to want to make sure I'm using that same language. So all throughout here, you might notice words like equity, belonging, innovation, resilience, service, collaboration. These are all words that I can make sure if I'm posting something or if I'm talking about something and I see it aligning with these, that I'm definitely going to bring in those exact wording. So it's kind of those talking points or making sure that you're getting that iteration of that thinking. So if you go to the next slide. Oops, I think we skipped one, did we? I was looking for the aligning your message, the second one. Oh, maybe it got out of order. Yeah, thanks. That's it. Again, here, these are our strategic priorities. And again, you can see I'm kind of highlighting those words and things that I'm seeing over and over and over again. So now we can go backwards a slide. Sorry about that, Carrie. Carrie's going to open the collaborative board. What I'd like you to do is take about 3 minutes. I'll say 2 minutes. There's not that many of us in the here today, so I think we'll have a little bit more time. Just pop in some words. You're looking at your district's mission, vision, and goals and things like that. Use this board to post what kinds of words. Give me like 3 words that you're seeing. So Carrie, can you show us real quick how they post to the board?
So I don't have the student view on here, but
Okay.
you should have a box at the bottom that is basically just like a little box for you to type in, and then you hit the airplane that looks like it's next to it, and that should allow you to post into it. And if somebody could tell me if that's what you're seeing, that would be great.
I'm popping in real fast.
Perfect.
Yep, so I'll go ahead and do this as well, and I'll give us 2 minutes again on the timer. Dumping a bunch in here. Yeah, feel free to make as many posts as you want as you're going through. Okay, I put a bunch in. I think you can also edit yours. Is that true? No, you have to add more. So yeah, I'm seeing world citizens, innovative, compassionate, thinker, communicator, achiever. Yeah, and so, if you're able to find kind of just these few words even as you're thinking about how you might go about posting and what you might post, and if you see something where you see students are really engaging in discussions, if you have an activity coming up where you're partnering with someone, if you are doing things that are outside of the school walls, so that idea of world citizens, you're engaging with people from other cultures, or you're doing activities where you are looking at other cultures and bringing them into your studies. Those are kinds of things that you would want to share. All right, okay, let's go on to cohesive messaging keywords. All right, so this is kind of something you can either put your hand up or you can just in the chat. How many of you are using an AI GPT kind of a application now? So you might be using ChatGPT, you might be using Perplexity, you might be using Copilot. In the chat, can you just, I see one person has that in there. Julie's like, maybe not so much. I had a funny thing happen today. We're doing a Copilot pilot, and everyone was talking about how great it was. And I was looking, and I was like, oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. And then I realized they hadn't turned on the integrations for me yet. So I have no idea whether I like it or not. So we have a lot of people with ChatGPT. Just as an exercise in seeing how that might help you and how it can pull some of these things out for you. Obviously, you've done it on your own, and I definitely would recommend checking anything that GPT or something like that would pop out at you. But the prompt that I have listed below here, the cohesive messaging keywords, go ahead and copy that prompt if you can. I'm hoping that I can. Or you're going to have to type it in. Yeah, you know what? Maybe, Carrie, we can pop it into the chat. Paste that whole prompt, and that even give the response, the bottom paragraph there. Yeah, that whole thing into if you don't mind pasting that into the chat for everyone too, so they have access to it, because I can't copy it. There you go. Perfect. And are you able to copy it from there? That's my next question. Should be able to. Okay, yeah, I can. Take that into ChatGPT or whatever would be your GPT of choice. You should be able to do this at least one time if you don't have a ChatGPT account, with just the generic login. They allow you to kind of play with it now without being logged in. And go ahead and click the enter button and just see, oops, we forgot to do something. I forgot to have you change the one thing. So Carrie, if you can see if it'll let you do it again, paste it. And where it says enter your organization, school, or district at the top, please look at the most recent social media posts. Yeah, we're going to put SDCOE in there. It doesn't have to be in brackets. Yeah. So type your district in there and then hit enter. And basically what we're asking it to do is take a look at any of the open posts that your district has made lately. It's going to the website and you can kind of see the resources in ChatGPT showing up in gray there, where it got its information from. And it's going to give you a listing kind of the different things that it's seeing. So as I'm looking at, my list of words that I had, they've got well-being, equity, student supports, community partnerships. I'm seeing a lot of the things that I was able to pull out on my own. But it's giving me some other ideas as well. And again, this might help you to just come up with those themes, come up with those ideas. And then once you have this, if we go down to the bottom, and I'm going to give people a chance to look at this in a minute, you can start having a conversation depending on, I know at some point it will time out if you're on the free version. If you log in, it should allow you to make a few posts here. You might say to it, what are some typical types of messaging or that I might create, and then put in your role as an educational technology teacher or coordinator. What are some typical types of messaging that I might create that align with my district's messaging, or in this case, SDCOE's messaging? Thank you, Carrie. And you can really start to have a conversation with it. And these might give me some ideas. So one of the things about telling your story is kind of the repetitiveness of it. Posting often, having a game plan for posting that makes it cohesive and makes it something where you are messaging out kind of those same words, right? Using talking points, getting some cohesion from staff and other people that might be posting within your organization to make sure that you're hitting the same kind of ideas. So take a minute or two to kind of pop that into a GPT. And then what I would love for you to do, Carrie's going to put on this next collaborative board. And if you don't mind, type in a couple of thoughts that the GPT came up with you, something that might be different. And at the end of it, before you post or in a different post, tell me one thing that you think you might be able to message on that's coming up in your work, something that you're going to be doing that you can share. Thank you, Julietta. There's it. Julietta or Julieta. Share moments of student success, whether academic, artistic, or behavioral. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and do that too. And again, I'm just going to give you some moments to do this. You can ask the GPT also to recommend hashtags that are already being used by your district, or to come up with some hashtags for you. If you come up with a hashtag, I always suggest going out and looking for other corporations or other people who might be using that hashtag. You might want to make sure that it's not tagging to things that you are not wanting it to be associated with, or that it's tagging as something people will not, it's already being largely used. So ours, Equity and Love in Action, that actually has been used by SDCOE. We have the spelling bee, so that's their hashtag. We used to have Innovate SD. I don't know that that one's out as much. That was an innovation hashtag that we used to use in a lot of places. Hashtags are just a way of helping people find specific topics. So if we went into a social media account and we searched a hashtag, if it is very specific to your organization, you're going to be able to pull up a lot of those hashtags or posts, kind of filter out all the other posts, and those hashtags will allow you to pull up that topic in particular. So you can see we have this plethora, and we can figure out the ones that relate to what we're doing, the community schools, Together for Students. We definitely use hashtag EdTech a lot. That is used by a lot of EdTech people, but it kind of puts us within that area of EdTech. So I'm just wondering if anybody wants to unmute and tell us a little bit about what they're noticing, or just kind of what they're thinking now. Is this something where you can see yourself beginning to organize your brain, maybe a little around what you might share and how you might share it?
Hi, Pamela. This is Kevin. I'll go.
Kevin? Yeah, thank you.
I'm actually I'm thinking specifically about how we are engaging our students with AI and the communications around that. And so I mean, it's a little bit meta maybe, but definitely trying to frame, a communications plan um, and do well by all stakeholders in the process, but especially
Absolutely.
like you're talking about here, making sure it's aligned to our organization's mission and vision and yeah, all that stuff. So
Yeah, and I think the AI itself kind of helps out with. So now if you went and you scanned specifically looking for the mission, vision, values, and again, like I said, you can do that on your own by just going to your mission values, and you do that kind of word data mining on your own, right? And writing them down. And I think it's a good exercise for anybody to kind of review what that is and have your elevator pitch kind of ready to go. The words you're supposed to be using. Where the AI kind of is helpful is in summarizing large organizational goals, right? And in your conversation with the AI, you can begin to narrow that down. So once you know what your district stance is, what if you have a profile of a graduate, you can look at it through that lens, right? So if you're wanting to talk to students about the use of AI or academic integrity or, critical thinking, those kinds of things, you can then align it to kind of your district's core values, right? You can say, hey, we have this kind of acceptable use policy in the beginning of the year where we were talking about AI and how, these are the permitted uses or these are not the permitted uses. And basically why we would not permit it would be that we value critical thinking. We value, I'm going to look at some of your other things over here, student success. We want our future leaders to be prepared to enter a world where information's at your fingertips, but you have to be more kind of robust in how you think about it, right? You need to check different sources. Looking at other things, someone said sharing moments of student successes, right? So thinking around the AI policy that you were talking about, or start talking to students around it. Maybe the successes are in careers, like, oh, we're learning about AI and how it's being used in science right now, and how they are finding. I know in I'm trying to remember what the name of the position is, but basically there is a librarian who would curate a lot of information and then give people access to it, right? But to synthesize information across a vast number of studies and outside of even the discipline that you might be looking at takes a lot of man hours, right? But there's a science group that just got a Nobel Prize not too long ago. They were using it to identify, I want to say, DNA strands or something along that line. They were identifying types, like some portion of the DNA that would lead to certain genetic outcomes, right? That were not so good. And just the fact that as soon as they've been making a lot of progress, and then you can see right when AI kind of hits, all of a sudden their accuracy rate for identifying these strands or whatever they were identifying just skyrocketed because they were able to have more parameters on what they would be looking for and more studies that they could study quickly and that could come up with this model. And suddenly their accuracy rate for identifying whatever they were trying to identify went from around 70% to like 89%. So if your students are learning about that kind of thing, you could be talking, hey, we learned this really cool thing about AI and how it's being used in schools. Again, going back to your mission and values. Anybody else want to unmute and share what they're kind of thinking about? And thank you, Kevin. That was insightful. So Kevin's saying, I like asking my AI thought partner to ask me clarifying questions to produce something more specific too. Yeah, feeding it our own policies or school profiles and values is a good idea. I could see AI helping me identify and mitigate risks for our communication plan too. Absolutely. It is supportive. And again, I wouldn't go to AI to solve problems necessarily if you do have a communications department, but I love how you called it a thought partner. That it is something that you can check your tone, right? You can check how the messages that you might be sending might be received, right? You can ask, how is this message that I'm about to send out aligning with our district vision and priorities? Can you give me any suggestions that I might do or ways that I might strengthen that? And then it can give you some answers to that as well. So I'm going to give a minute. If there's anyone else who would like to unmute, I'm going to wait about a couple seconds here.
There, this is
Thank you.
Julie.
Hi, Julie.
You're welcome. This is all very new to me, and I'm still like hesitant to use it. And I am a special education teacher, so basically I was trying to find better ways that I can use this to help my students. But a lot of times they have great difficulty with communication themselves. And I was like, well, maybe this will give me ideas on how they can share their story.
Absolutely. And I so it doesn't all have to be AI, but I think too, if they think of around their own personal values, and I've talked to students a lot about this in terms of kind of that idea of digital footprint. So that gets us kind of more into the digital citizenship range. But knowing that social media is being looked at by a lot of people nowadays too, if you're applying for jobs and things, a lot of times they'll scan that and kind of see what you've posted. So I always recommend that if students are using social media, they consider their like curating an account. Pick one account. My own daughters use Facebook, and they're now 22 and 24, but they use Facebook and they use Instagram, and they'll post things that promote their academic values, like what they're interested in doing when they grow up. And that posts what we've done with the family, if we've done any travel, and they're doing that pretty, strategically, knowing that that's the footprint that they're living out kind of in the world themselves. Their accounts where they're just posting weird memes and things with their friends don't include their name in the account name. So they have funny little nicknames that they use and those are closed accounts, but they're publicly facing accounts. It's kind of that same idea. If you have students do a little introspection on what are your own personal values, what are your family values, what do you really care about? My daughter, one of them loves the environment. She loves oceans. Those are things that are really important to her. My other daughter is an artist. She hates AI and wishes that it would just go away. But when she posts, we're saying, how do you show those great sides of yourself that you want people to know about without divulging too much information about yourself, but just saying, here's this award I won, or here's this thing I'm tinkering with, and just show a picture of the thing that you're, if you like to build boat models, I'm making this up, but show a picture of the boat model. It doesn't have to have a picture of the student themselves, and tell a little bit about what you're enjoying about it. Something new you learned at school that day, Monica used to love, again, oceans, and specifically crustaceans, which was sort of odd, but she would talk about how she was learning about the acidification of their shells. So things like that, I think that would really help your students.
Thank you very much. They're great ideas, especially teaching them to be safe and mindful that
Oh, yeah.
their messages are out there for the world to see. I think a lot of times we, even as adults that are not experts at using this technology, get ourselves in a pickle sometimes. So that's my
Yeah.
fear.
Well, and we actually are hosting a parent series. So that is coming up as well. You can find it on our website. And one of the first topics is around deep fakes and what they are, and kind of how families can talk about those. So they're kind of in alignment. It's all messaging, right? I mean, so many things are
Yeah.
messaging, and this is just sort of the get your feet wet and start thinking about that. How do you plan what you're going to post ahead of time? And in this case, aligning it again to making that story about your school or your work or your district or your own personal work. Getting that message out about what you're doing, what the district's doing, those kinds of things. And again, I think from our communications department, a couple big ideas for you, and I'll wrap it up with this, would be, to pull out those words, kind of find those things. If you could come up with 3 big things that your district or organization would really want people to hear, those are the things you repeat the most. I think back when I was in San Diego Unified, we had Cindy Martin had Dream Big. And so a lot of people used that idea and would hashtag that, or would show images of students just doing kind of amazing things that you always are doing in your classroom, right? And it's that moment to kind of get that message out. But then making sure again that you are not speaking on behalf of your organization. That's a good way to have them potentially ask you to pull something down. Understanding too, and this is kind of new, that districts don't necessarily retweet things that you might post, so they don't necessarily repost anymore. That was something in the past they would do a lot, especially if you posted work that was aligned with their goals and values. They would take a personal account and repost from that. They might like it now, but it's if you can think of any news in the recent years where there may have been a person that was great and they were really well known on social media, and maybe they won awards and things, and all of a sudden something happens with that person and something not so great, right? It's harder for the districts to go back and clear out their social media accounts to say, oh, we've reposted something that someone posted, and now that person's kind of on the list of maybe we shouldn't have that associated with our organization anymore. To kind of go back and undo that is really hard for them now. So don't be surprised, I guess is what I'm saying, if they don't retweet or repost or put out what you are posting as an individual. They might like it. You can use a hashtag to your district. You can say you work for the district. You're just not speaking on behalf of. So you would never say something, in my case, like, at SDCOE, we believe that students should do blah, 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 or SDOCOE is proud to present. Those are all things that would come at that higher level. And then again, with kind of remembering about student privacy. So if you ever post something that are pictures of students, you want to make sure you have your media releases, and those would be through the district. Kind of as a general rule, you want to look at copyright, make sure you're not posting things that are other people's work that you have permission to post. And then again, student privacy. So names and things like that of students, images, those are all kind of things that we would say be leery of posting. The other thing people don't think about a lot is if you're taking images of students with your own personal camera, because you want to post something to media, or you want to have it so that you can use it in some way in a newsletter or even something like that. we recommend taking them and downloading them off your phone immediately and not kind of keeping images of students stored on your cell phone. Just if you kind of think about the reasons why you might not want to have lots of images of other people's kids on there, that's kind of best practice would be to find a way to download those images. You can store them in district accounts. You just don't want to necessarily have it on your own private phone, if that makes sense. All right, well, we are near the top of the hour. Are there any questions that anyone has or anything they'd like to comment on? Otherwise, I think I'm going to say thank you for coming. Our next session, we'll talk about kind of story arcing and how you can think across different activities that you might be doing throughout the year to create different posts, different pictures, how to bring something to your communications department that you would like them to market. And again, that would go up the chain. If you're a classroom teacher, you'd be talking to your principal. If you're a principal, you'd be talking to your district person. But we'll talk about that in the next session. And please check out our website and all of the webinars that we'll be hosting this year. All right.
And Pam, can I just jump in for 1 second? If you're interested in those professional learning credits, the form that allows you to submit your reflection is in the chat. I also put in a different one. Unfortunately, I realized that that one is restricted and I don't have the permissions right now to adjust that. So if you were here and you want professional learning credits, just go ahead and fill out this form, the one that I put in first, and then don't fill out the reflection until later. And then when you fill that in, then we can kind of keep that all together. But this, just as your sign in, is fine as well. So we'll leave that in the chat for a couple of minutes too.
Yeah, I'll say if you fill out the form Carrie just gave you, we can migrate your stuff to that, and we'll let you know when that other form gets the permissions changed. I have a feeling our director created it, and we probably just don't have access to it right now. All right. We'll also send out those links later, but again, if you want the credits and you're here, now is the time to sign up on that, or quickly shoot us an email and say, hey, I was there. I would like the credits. All right. Thank you, everybody.